Welcome back to the DualSense Replacement Battery Series. In this episode, I'm reviewing a Hisewen brand DualSense replacement battery. It's listed as 3980 mAh at 3.65 volts. That works out to be a claimed 14.53 watt-hours. Now this battery comes in a hard shell and doesn't feel very heavy at all, so that 14.53 watt-hour claim already looks a bit suspect. The kit, 2 batteries, a small Phillips screwdriver, and a pry tool, costs $17 on Amazon. Link in the description. I've been testing these 2 batteries for about 3 weeks now, so let's jump into the results. These are the lowest power delivered and runtimes I recorded. As you can see, these numbers are nowhere near 14.53 watt-hours. Because the results were so far off, I ran an extra week of tests just to be sure. Here are the highest values I measured, still dramatically lower than advertised. And this is the average across both batteries and all test runs. Focusing on the light to mid rumble load, 6.88 watt-hours is only about 47% of the claimed 14.53 watt-hours. That's terrible. There's really no polite way to say it. Here are the average run times. You should get a comfortable 11 plus hours with mid to light rumble. If the battery hadn't claimed twice that runtime, this would actually be decent for a hard shell drop-in replacement. This chart puts the Hisewen 3980 mAh battery head-to-head with the Sony OEM reference battery. It delivers just over 1 extra watt-hour, roughly a 20% improvement over stock. The runtime comparison tells the same story. Again, about 20% longer than the OEM battery. Nothing groundbreaking, but for a true drop-in replacement, ignoring the wildly inflated claim, that's actually a respectable gain. The leads are much longer than necessary, something I've seen on every replacement battery so far. Dimensions are 60.4 millimeters long, 40 millimeters wide, and just over 8.5 millimeters deep, should fit the DualSense battery compartment without any trouble. That's not just a thin paper label. Wow, came really close to slicing the cell there. So the top of the shell is rigid plastic, and the label is plastic too. The bottom is fish paper, and the cell is adhered to it. Yes, fish paper bottom with double-sided tape. I actually think that's a decent construction choice. The cell has Kapton tape along the edge seams. Now that cell looks very familiar. On the left is the lithium polymer cell from this 14.53 watt-hour battery. On the right is the cell from the Pickle Power 9.7 watt-hour battery in episode 4. They appear to be the exact same cell, which explains why their power delivery profiles are almost identical. And unfortunately, it looks like it uses the same battery protection board. Here's the weight breakdown. Complete battery, 35.1 grams. I already knew it didn't feel heavy. That's only a few tenths of a gram lighter than the Pickle Power battery from episode 4, which was already overrated at 9.7 watt-hours. Cell only, 28.8 grams. That's actually a tiny bit less than what I measured for the Pickle Power cell, though the difference could just be leftover adhesive or slightly longer tab cuts on the Pickle Power one. Let's take a closer look at the protection board. Lead wires are nicely soldered. The tab spot welds, though, not great. Several are partially off the pads or the end of the tab. This is the same protection board we saw in the Pickle Power LIP 1708 review. As you can see, R3 is marked like a 10K ohm resistor. It should be a thermistor. The circuit looks like this. In my opinion, having a fixed 10K ohm resistor instead of a thermistor makes this battery completely unsuitable for a DualSense replacement. I'll run quickly through the protection test, even though I already know they'll match the Pickle Power results. First, thermistor test. Neither battery has a real thermistor, just a fixed 10K ohm reading no matter the temperature. Complete failure. Short circuit test. It does trip. but these are some of the highest current readings I've seen on the meter before shutdown. I can't see an arc, but I definitely hear it. Shutdown speed depends heavily on variations in the DW01 IC and 8205 MOSFETs. Discharge overcurrent shutdown takes about 4 seconds at 3.7 amps, faster at 3.9 amps. Discharge low voltage cutoff, around 2.366 volts, a bit low for this style of protection circuit. Charge overcurrent, trips in a couple of seconds at 3.6 amps, consistent with previous tests on this design. Charge over voltage cutoff, around 4.280 volts, again right in line with this protection family. This is episode 5 and the 4th battery I've done a full deep dive on. Unfortunately, the trend has been steadily downhill since episode 2. Should you buy this battery? No, absolutely not. I genuinely don't understand why it has good Amazon reviews, unless buyers simply don't know how long a real 14 watt-hour battery should last in a DualSense. Capacity accuracy? Absurd claim. I suspected it would fall short when I felt how light it was, but delivering less than half the advertised power is dishonest. 1 star, and I feel generous giving it that. Build quality? Pretty good. I actually like the fish paper base. Lowers the chance of cell damage. True drop-in fit, 4 stars. Protection performance. Like the last 3 batteries, no thermistor. The controller has 0 idea of cell temperature. 0 stars. Cost per watt hour, $1.23. The highest I've recorded so far. Before I started testing any batteries, I estimated about $1.20 per watt hour as a rough baseline for OEM-sized batteries. So ironically, this one lands almost exactly where I expected, just not for the reason the seller wants. Thank you for watching episode 5. Don't get too discouraged. There have to be some decent batteries out there somewhere. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss episode 6. Next up, a deep dive into an LUU ZK LA battery. I bought these because they're listed at 9,200 mAh, which I'm pretty sure is physically impossible in this form factor. But wild claims deserve to be tested. See you in the next one.